So we're going to do an oil change on this ZR1. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know how to do your own oil changes, but you know, for those that don't, I figured this would be a good video. I have the car here, I'm doing an oil change on it and a few other things, so I figured it's here. You know, why not make a video? Kill two birds with one stone, right? So you know, jacking up these cars, I wouldn't say it's hard, but you know, you have to so you know, obviously all the normal precautions: block off the rear wheels, make sure the e-brake's on, put the car in gear. It's not going anywhere. This is not parked perfectly, but whatever, it's fine. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get some, you know, 4x4s or some ramps. I have these ramps that I made a long time ago. They're good for lower cars. You can drive them up on the fourth step and get underneath the car. But I like to get the car up a little bit higher than these just to work a little bit more comfortably underneath the car. If you have a lift, then obviously none of this applies. But yeah, you got to get the car up a little bit. Underneath there on the cross member, what I do is I take a floor jack and a hockey puck. I center it, I jack it up on the middle of the cross member, and I'll show you that. And then you just need jack stands and again, some more hockey pucks. Or if you have those inserts or whatever they are, they like go into the slots where like the jack stand points are. You can use those as well, but yeah, I'll show you how to get it out. It's pretty simple. All right, so we got the car up right on the cross member there. Hockey puck right in the middle of it. Make sure you're centered. I've jacked a lot of Corvettes up like this, never had an issue. Some people like to use a long block of wood to kind of distribute the force a little bit more. That's fine. Don't think it's necessary, especially if you have like a hockey puck there. And then the jack stands, real simple right here, hockey puck. Line it up with the little slots, make sure it's centered, make sure it's, you know, both sides are even, but this looks good here. And then obviously what you're gonna wanna do is let down the car very slow. I already lined everything up, so I'm sure this is gonna go down pretty easily. We can pull these, we'll keep those there just for safety, but let it down real slow. Make sure you have good control of your handle. Slow as you can, just like that. That's just the jack. And you'll feel it once it hits. And there we go. All right. Bring it out, and car's up in the air. It's not going anywhere. Jacked up Corvettes like this a million times. You know, pretty simple. All right, so this should be everything you need to do the job. Oil filter, customer supplied his own oil filter. It's a Wix 5070, 7060, or whatever part, you know, however you say that, which is fine. I keep these in stock. I usually use these oil filters, the UPF 48R. But like I said, he supplied his own oil filter, which is fine. Paper towels, some oil filter wrenches. Oil filter cut open tool. I like to cut open oil filters. You know, you cut open an oil filter, and we'll do that in the video. You can pretty much see everything that's going on in the engine. You know, if you cut it open, you see some bearing material. Well, you know, it tells you it's probably time to send it out for a refresh before you actually, you know, do some serious damage. But you know, his car's healthy. I'm sure we're not going to find anything. 15mm socket for the drain plugs. There's two drain plugs. Here's his filter. I use so after I take it off and I install this by hand, I use one of these oil filter caps to tighten it down a little bit more. Anytime a car's got like a cam in it, it has more vibration, I tend to go a little bit more than just a typical hand tight. I don't kill it, but I do go a little bit more than hand tight. Never had a problem. They come off easily, and you don't have to, you know, worry about it coming off. But anyway, you need a 3/8 drive ratchet. This, I'll show you what I use this for. And then if you're not familiar with how to do, you know, if you haven't done an oil change before, or you're not comfortable, you don't know how tight to tighten a drain bolt, get yourself a torque wrench. I'm not going to use a torque wrench. I have, you know, I have better feel with this ratchet just for how tight like something should be, especially an oil drain bolt. But if you don't have good feel and you don't really know how to, you know, how much to tighten it, you know, you don't feel comfortable, then get yourself, it doesn't have to be this kind of torque wrench. It could be, you know, a $20 torque wrench from Harbor Freight. I don't know the torque spec. It's probably 15 foot-pounds. It's something like that. You can look it up. But, you know, like I said, if you're not comfortable, you know, if you don't know how tight to tighten down a drain plug, then get yourself a torque wrench and look up the torque spec and make sure, you know, that way, you know, you're not over tightening it or under tightening it. But yeah, I'm not going to be using the torque wrench, but I just wanted to have it out just because I want to make this a pretty complete video. So now we're going to get under there. We're going to drain it out. All right, I don't know if this is going to be the best angle, but you have two drain bolts. You have one for your pan and one for the dry sump. These are dry sump systems. So this one is actually the pan bolt right here, and this one's for the dry sump. I believe I have that right. But anyway, you're going to need to drain both of them. So you're going to need a drain pan that holds at least 10 quarts. I believe these hold 10.5 quarts. There's your oil filter where it's going to spin that off. So I'm not going to show the oil draining. Obviously, you pop off the drain plugs, you drain the oil, you let it drain for about, I usually let it go for about 10 minutes. Right now, the temperature of the oil is probably about 140, 150 degrees. You drove it here, it's a pretty hot day, probably around 200. We let it cool for about 15, 20 minutes. So, you know, ideally you want the oil warm, but you don't want it, you know, burning hot. So yeah, we're just gonna pop out these drain plugs, oil filter, let it drain, and we'll go from there. All right, so we've had the oil draining for about 10 minutes. It's come to pretty much a small drip. Drain plugs, I always take the drain plugs out and I spray a little bit of brake clean on them, clean them up, look at the threads, look at the gaskets. I've never had to change a drain plug on a C6 before. The gaskets are always good to reuse. This one looks good. Both these plugs are interchangeable. You can use these for both either one, but they yeah, they look good. So I'm going to clean these off. I'm going to install them. Then we're going to pull off the oil filter, cut it open, and then we'll put everything back on and show you guys how to fill it up. Malcolm, say hi to YouTube. Sit, speak, speak, speak. Oh, you're a good boy. All right, good boy. That's Malcolm. He's a shop dog, always here to help me. Going on 9.5. It's a senior dog, All right, so anyway, what I like to do is, come over here, is when I get oil filters, I always check the threads to make sure there's no shavings on the threads. I've actually seen quite a few oil filters come out of the box and there's like a little bit of shavings on the threads. Not a big deal, but you want to make sure that you would clean that off before putting it on the car. So I'm actually not going to cut open this old oil filter because when I cut open oil filters, I take them off with a different tool, a tool that doesn't really bite into the filter itself. So I can, when I use a cut open tool, you have to pull out the media, and if it's kind of like crushed in, you can't do that. And I forgot to do that. So we're not going to cut open his, here comes Malcolm again, his oil filter. His oil looked really good. Car's running great, so I'm not too worried about it. But what I'm going to do, like I said, I just did a little, you know, looked at the threads, looked inside, obviously make sure that your gasket is good. Check your oil filters. A lot of people just get an oil filter, they throw it on. Check them, make sure they're good. And then I also just take a little bit of compressed air, dog treats everywhere, and blow it out. Sitting on the shelf, you know, you don't want anything going into your engine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pre-fill the filter. All right, so now we're just getting ready to install the oil filter. What I do for these oil filters is I always pre-fill them. Basically how an oil filter works is the oil is going to run down the filter. Okay, and it's going to go through the media. The media is on the outside of it, and it's going to come back up and then go into the engine. Now that takes, you know, a split second to happen. So when you pre-fill it, like obviously if you have your, you know, if you're after an oil change, like after you turn off your car, all the oil is going to be sitting, you know, your oil filter is going to be like this. It's going to be full, so you don't have to worry about that. But when you're putting a new oil filter on the car, then it's going to be dry at first if you don't pre-fill it. So I actually pre-filled this one a little bit too much. I'm going to have to take a little bit off there just with a towel. But basically, this holds about a quarter of a quart of oil. When you fill it up to the top, it's going to burp out a little bit. Then you put a little bit more in it. It actually takes like 3 or 4 times to get this perfectly full. But you know, I highly recommend pre-filling the filter. This customer uses a 20W50 oil. Like I said, his engine, I actually didn't say that, but he is not a stock bottom end engine. He is it's a rod and piston car. So he has rods and pistons in it. I think the manufacturer, or not the manufacturer, but yeah, the company that, you know, I think it's Diamond Pistons, and I'm not sure the rod and piston combination, but they recommend a 50 weight oil. They recommend this oil, so that's what the customer uses. That's what he brought. Like I said, he brought this oil and this filter, so I'm just using what the customer brought. Normally for stock bottom end car, you know, it calls for a 530. But personally, I think a 1040 is really good for a stock bottom end car. I was running AMSOIL Z-Rod 1040, which is a high zinc oil. My car seemed to really like that. So yeah, I mean, oil, obviously, you know, run what you want to run. You know, oil debates can go on forever. What oil is the best, what viscosity to use. But this car, he uses a 2050. He's never had a problem with that. Like I said, I recommend a 40 weight oil, but you know, a 30 weight oil is fine as well. So obviously, you know, make sure that when you know, take off your old oil filter, make sure the gasket is nice and the surface is nice and clean. Make sure the gasket came off. Obviously lube up your O-ring. And then what I do on these cars is I'll you know, for most cars is I'll go hand tight and try to crank it over as much as I can with my hand, and that's fine. For these cars, you know, it's a cam car, so the engine is going to be vibrating a little bit more. Is this oil filter socket is just part of the master set that I have, but I don't know the specs on this exact, like how many flutes this is or what the diameter is. But anyway, this fits on the bottom of the oil filter. And what I'll do is I'll crank it down by hand as much as I can go, and then I'll go like another half a turn with this small little stubby ratchet. I'm not over torquing it at all, but I'm just giving it a little bit more than hand tight. That way I know that it's not gonna, again, I'm sure, you know, if you do it hand tight, it's not gonna, you know, I'm sure it's not gonna vibrate off, but this just gives me a little bit more peace of mind that it's on there a little bit extra tight, and it's definitely not gonna back its way off. And it's still gonna come off pretty easy the next oil change, because we're not over torquing it. We're just adding a little bit more. So that's what we're gonna do, and then I'll show you guys how to fill it up. All right, so I just wanted to add this part of the video. So one thing I like to do is, so get some brake clean everything up so there's no residual. It's tough so it's all dry. And then what I'll do is after I put the oil in the car, I'll let it run. You have to let these cars warm up anyway, but I'll let it run while it's up in the air like this for about 15 minutes, and I'll come down here and I'll check for leaks. The reason I say clean up all the residual, get some brake clean, get some towels, clean up any residuals, because you know, if all the residual oil is not cleaned up and you have a little bit of oil still dripping, then you're not going to know if that's a leak or if it's like the old oil just kind of dripping off where you didn't clean it up. But if you clean it up really good, with some brake clean, with some towels, with some compressed air, and you get underneath, then you shouldn't see even a drip of oil. If you do, then you know you're gonna know you have a leak somewhere. So make sure you clean up really good, start the car, let it run, and check for leaks, which you know, I'm obviously gonna do. So I just wanted to point that out, clean everything up really good. All right, so one thing that I always like to do, I know this is like this might be like way too long of a video for an oil change, but clean your funnel out. Make sure you put some brake clean in it, some compressed air, make sure it's nice and clean. You know, I have all my stuff sitting in there, so, you know, sometimes there's a little bit of debris in there, but clean your funnel out, make sure it's nice and clean. You don't want anything going into your engine other than clean oil. All right, so I'm not going to show me pouring oil into a car, but this car takes 10.5 quarts of oil. So what I do is, so the way you can't fill these up and then check them. You actually have to run them, get it up to operating temperature. Again, I'm sure a lot of people know this, but you know, for some people that don't, you have to fill these, and I'll show you how to do that. Get it up to operating temperature, let it cool down for about 10 minutes, then check it. So they take 10.5 quarts of oil. Now, generally, if if your oil's warm when you drain it, if you let it all drain out, you're going to pretty much be getting all 10.5 quarts out, but you don't want to overfill these. So what I'll do is I'll put about 10 quarts in. So I'll underfill it by about, half a quart. Let it run. I mean, we're just idling, at 10 quarts of oil idling, you're more than fine. I'll let it run. I'll check it. And then generally what I'll see is it's about a half a quart low on the dipstick. I'll add a little bit and then I'll call it good. But I just don't want to overfill it. So I don't want to just go right ahead and put 10.5 quarts in it. I'll put about 10. Even like 9.5 is fine. Let it idle, get up to temperature, let it sit for 10 minutes. I'll show you guys how to do that. And then I'll check the dipstick. It's generally going to be a little bit low. It's going to want about a half a quart. I'll put the half a quart in there and that's going to be perfect. So yeah, I'm going to fill it up now and then I'll show you guys how to check it. All right, so I just turned the car on. Like I said, I have it up on ramp still, and the back tires are on the ground. I only have the front tires up, so make sure you put it in neutral before you start it, obviously. But the car's on. Double check your work. Make sure just think about everything. Make sure you you tighten down your drain bolts. Make sure you tighten down your oil filter. Right now, I have about a little over 9.5 quarts in the car. Like I said, I don't want to overfill it. I like to kind of creep up on it. But right now, the oil temperature is 88 degrees. We're going to wait for that to get up to about 170, and then we're going to shut the car off. We're going to wait 10 minutes and we're going to check the oil. So I'll show you guys how to do that, but obviously I'm not just going to wait for it to, I'm not going to film it getting up to 175 degrees. So once it does get up to 175 degrees, we're going to turn it off, wait 10 minutes, check the dipstick, add a little bit of oil, and then that's going to be it. Like I said, I'm not going to film this part either, but the car is running right now. I'm going to get underneath the car while it's running with my flashlight and really look at, I'm going to look at the perimeter of the drain bolts and the oil filter, make sure there's no leaks. If there's no leaks, like I said, just going to wait for it to get up to temperature, 170, 180 degrees, turn it off, wait 10 minutes, check the oil, and then we're good to go. All right, so the car's been running for about 10 minutes. I just went underneath and checked it for leaks, bone dry. That's all residual right there. I looked around the bolts, the filter gasket, bone dry like I thought it would be. So now what I'm going to do is while it's running, I'm going to take it off the ram, set it down level. That way we get an accurate reading of the oil. Let it warm up a little bit more. Right now it's at like 130, 140 degrees. So probably about another 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to check the oil and call this job done. All right, so the car got up to, he has a 50 weight oil, so it took forever to get up to operating temperature, literally like 25 minutes. But car was up to 175 degrees. Car's been sitting for about 10 minutes. So like I said, I put about 9.5 quarts of oil in it. So it should be just a little bit low, but it's better to creep up on it than overfill it. So if we come over here, we're gonna wipe it off, put it back in, and what I'm expecting to see is for it to be a little bit low, but pretty much right on the money. And as you can see, we are right there, which is about a little bit more than a half a quart too low. So we're going to put another half a quart in it. That'll bring it to here, and then we're done. That's it. Thanks for watching.